Hello, my HRIS. I am your host, Chavonne Mateen, and welcome to the 5th episode. That's right, the 5th episode of the HRIS Streamline Podcast, the one and only podcast that's empowering HRIS professionals like you. This episode is sponsored and brought to you by Valued Personnel, where we source and recruit HRIS professionals and match them with exceptional companies across the country. Now today we'll be chatting candidly with Mrs. Melanie White. Now Melanie has over 25 years of experience in the field of HR. She is an inspiring and respected senior leader with a proven track record of successfully managing human resources programs, global systems and implementations, process improvements through HR technology, all while collaborating with diverse cross-functional teams. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us on the HRIS Streamline Podcast today. I'm super excited to speak with you and for the HRIS community to hear from you. So Melanie, let's go ahead and jump right in. If you don't mind sharing, can you let the HRIS community know what a typical day for you looks like?
Absolutely. And I just want to say I am glad to be a part of this podcast. Thank you for inviting me. I am excited to share my experience and hopefully help and inspire other people who are in the HRIS field and working their way through. Days in HRIS are not typical. There are a lot of moving parts. There's always something different happening. Making sure that data is accurate is a changing process all the time. Mostly what I am responsible for is making sure that the information that employees provide upon hire is accurate, and then making sure that it gets put into our system of record consistently, accurately, and then it can be reported out upon accurately. So there are a lot of data changes, department moves, company updates, different things that happen, making sure that all of that happens, and then getting that information moved over to the payroll system to make sure that everyone gets paid consistently and accurately. There are a lot of meetings, talking with people, resolving issues. I sometimes refer to myself as a fireman because I end up having to put out fires on a consistent and daily basis. So that's kind of what a day looks like in the life of HRIS.
So, Melanie, tell us, how did you realize that HRIS was right for you?
Interestingly, I had been on the functional side of HR, and so I was kind of more employee engaged. And a person left the organization who had been doing a technology project. And my boss was kind of like, well, you want to try it? And I was like, I don't know anything about it. And he said, try it anyway. And that was when I discovered I had an aptitude for systems and really liked solving problems, figuring out the details of what was happening, doing the analysis and doing the testing, making sure things were right. And it kind of grew from there. And then I started just moving into more HR systems, larger ERP systems, and really learning the ins and outs and the background. And that's really kind of how I got started and have made a career of it since then. And fear was the biggest thing. I didn't know if I could do it. So I had to overcome that, and I had a really supportive leadership team that kind of said, hey, where you fall, we'll help you. And so that was really important. You know, I just have a tenacity internally that really keeps me motivated to say, okay, there is nothing that I can't do. So, it might not be the way that everyone else does it, but I can figure out a way to make things happen. And so it really was kind of overcoming that internal fear and then just to really keep pushing that kept me going. And that was the decision of, no, I'm not a technology person, but I can make it happen. And here we are 20 years later. That really is what has been my career.
So what is something that you find to be the most exciting about what you do day in and day out? What's that thing that just keeps you going in HRIS?
Figuring out the root cause of an issue and coming up with a solution. There are so many things systematically that could go wrong, or, one system integrating with another system that may not have ever been done before. And when I can sit down with a piece of paper and figure out, okay, if this, then that, and make those things come together and work out something that really becomes a system-wide resolution to a ongoing problem. Those are the things that really give me a charge, because it's like, oh, my brain created that. And so those are the things that I really get excited about, where I'm like, oh, I did that. And, you know, I can look back on my career, and each place that I've worked, there's something that's still in existence because of something I said or did that made some things come together. So those are the things that keep me excited.
Is there anything that you feel you wish you would have known before you decided to specialize in HRIS?
I think I probably wish I had understood what analysis was from a data perspective. My undergraduate major was in English, so I'm a liberal arts person.
Okay.
And so analysis and things like that, I can analyze a story, but I didn't understand data. So learning and understanding data and how data works together and how all of those things come together was probably one of the things that really I had to learn and grow to understand. And I'm still learning it. Systems change, how information interacts with something else makes a big difference. So I am constantly in the analysis phase, even though as I progress through my career, the fundamental piece is analysis. How does this work with that? And that is probably something I wish I had understood earlier. It would have made, you know, some of those transitions a lot easier.
Given the opportunity to do it all over again and still work in the field, what would you do differently and why?
What would I do differently? I would learn stronger communication skills up front. And when I say communication, I'm an excellent writer, excellent speaker, but what I struggled with was learning how to talk the corporate talk and be able to negotiate instead of just spew out my ideas, and make sure that the other people that I was working with were on board with my ideas, instead of have them feeling like they were a part of the idea instead of me just dropping the ideas on them and trying to force feed them. There's a savvy and a political way to do things, and I still challenge myself and struggle with it all the time now. One of the things that I did was take an improv class to really learn how to speak, you know, extemporaneously, but be able to bring other people along with me in that conversation. We think we're communicating, but a lot of times to us might be something totally different to someone else, and I really have had to learn that aspect to be able to be successful in technology, because, you know, really technical people speak one way, really functional people speak another way, and in HRIS you really are right in the middle as the translator between the functional and technical, and you really have to speak two languages. And so for me, that has one of the things that I wish I had learned earlier.
Great advice in improv class. I would have never thought of that. Great advice, Melanie. So
thank you.
I can imagine, like, you know, just on the spot and be able to kind of be persuasive and be able to share those ideas and bring those to them. Awesome advice. What other advice would you give someone who is considering a career in HRIS, or for someone who's currently in the field, but they're looking to take their careers to the next level? What kind of advice do you have for that person listening today?
One of the things I also tell people is know what your core skills are. You have to know what you're good at and be able to leverage that. And that may be within your company or outside of your company. Your company may not have a career path for you, and that's okay. Be able to think about what is it that you bring to the table and focus on that. Be open to expanding and learning new things and different things and have a variety, but always understand what it is that you sell every day. Be clear about your skills. If you are great at analysis, know that. If you're great at design, know that. If you are great at, you know, global parts of a system, know that, and really specialize in something. If benefits are something that you're passionate about, know that, and really, really focus on that and take it where you're going. If payroll is interesting to you, be sure to focus on it and really understand what it is and know that so that you can speak on it and know that that's what your core skill is and rely on that, because that's really what's going to carry you, and be able to talk about what you know and what you do from a perspective that is of value to someone else.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Melanie. What type of challenges are we facing that people need to be aware of? Like, is there anything else that you feel is a challenge that we need to overcome as HRIS professionals?
I recently went to a conference, and the wave of robotic process automation is coming. And as HRIS professionals, we've got to understand it, not fear it, embrace it, and understand how we can be at the forefront of it so that it doesn't take our job, but we are the change agents that bring it to our organizations, because I think that if we bring that to our organizations, we become the leaders in the field instead of the people that are being replaced. And robotic process automation is awesome. I am excited about it and excited about what it's bringing to the industry. And I think that as long as HRIS professionals continue to be thought leaders and look at options and say, okay, well, I can get this under my belt and I'm not scared that it's going to make me and my work obsolete, and really embrace it as a part of the job. I think that's something that is really going to change the industry and make it exciting and fun, but really, at least over the next 5 years, it's going to set people apart, because there aren't any people that know it now. And getting in now, kind of seeing it and see what's happening, that's going to create another niche for everybody. That's something else they can tout as, hey, I have this and you're going to need it.
And I hope that the HRIS community takes heed to that advice. Thank you for sharing that, Melanie. Now, what is one book that you'd recommend to our HRIS community that is a must-read in your opinion?
The book that really I feel has transformed my career and my thought about my career is called You Inc. YOUINC. And its caption line is Discover the CEO Within. And it's by Burke Hedges. And it was written with a bend towards multi-level marketing, but it absolutely speaks to every professional in every way who really can take these ideas and really think about who are you and what do you bring to the table, and how do you make sure that you have the career that you want and not the career that someone else gives to you. And that has been transformative for me in understanding that my skills and my abilities are mine, and I need to be able to leverage and market them in ways that make me happy. And I think that that's something that people really need to focus on, especially the millennial community who want careers that are different than what they have seen their parents have. They want to be able to have more nimble of a career path. And so I think that a book like this will allow for that and help all of us understand what it is that we bring to the table, how we can leverage that, and really have fulfilling careers instead of careers that burn out at a certain point, because it can get boring doing the same thing over and over. But there are so many ways to infuse excitement and energy into your work life to make it be about you as well as your company. So I think that that's a book that really everyone should read and really get into their personal library to help them with their careers.
And I can certainly hear your passion and just thank you so much for speaking so candidly. And I'm sure that, the HRIS listening community was definitely able to take away from this interview and keep adding value to what they're doing in their personal and professional life. So thank you for that. It's been a great pleasure chatting with you. And again, thank you for joining us on the HRIS Streamline Podcast. Now, Melanie, how can our listeners find out more about you? Do you have a social media handle you'd like to share?
They can reach me on LinkedIn. I am at Melanie White at LinkedIn, and I am in the greater Atlanta area, and I am easily accessible and open to all questions, feedback, and anything else. I like helping people in their career.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, there you have it, my HRIS peeps. Melanie just gave us some really great information, and she was able to share and be very candid and open about her career path and where we see the industry going. Thank you so much for joining us for the 5th episode of the HRIS Streamline Podcast. Absolutely. Now, you know, this is the only podcast where we focus on you. Yes, you, the HRIS professional. And you can find us on SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and much more. So don't forget, if you'd like to be a guest on the show or if you have a guest suggestion, you can email us at HRISstreamline@valuedpersonnel.com today. And until next time, let's go ahead and get the HRIS out of here.